What do you think, Dave, of the lack of experience?
The shorts and no shoes are awesome.
No shoes, no shirt, no roof.
Welcome back to another Q&A Monday here on the Metal Roofing channel. My name is Thad Barnette, and today I have some special guests with me. I'm at Sheffield Metal's headquarters. Dave Stubbs is returning. He's calling in from Denver. I've got Julianne Calapa. She's our content specialist. She's on for the first time on the episode.
Yes.
And we have Jeff Hock from our technical department. Thanks for being on, everybody.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
So first, we're going to start, since you guys haven't been on the series yet, I'm going to have you tell us a little bit about your industry experience and what you do at Sheffield. So Julianne, why don't you go first?
Sure. So I'm Julianne Calapa. I'm the content specialist here at Sheffield. I write most of the articles for the blog, and I do interviews with the people that work here, and then I kind of translate their information into an article.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Jeff?
My name is Jeff Hock. I'm the Architectural Technical Manager. Do everything concerning weather-type warranties, testing for the engineered systems, detail approvals, and answering questions that come up for our customers on a daily basis.
So the whole point of this series is to answer questions from our community, our users, what people want to know about metal roofing. And today the topic is all about installation, specifically what can happen if an install goes wrong, or what happens when an install goes bad. So first, why don't you guys tell me what is the difference between a good install and a bad install? What makes an install go wrong?
Well, usually what makes an installation goes wrong is lack of experience on the contractor as far as installation details, or when it comes down to using the improper installation methods. Every manufacturer has recommended details, and then there are also just industry standard details that are, well known throughout the industry as far as being tested and time proven. So if a contractor is using details that aren't industry standard or per the manufacturer's recommendations, that's a good indication that things could end up going south.
So what is a detail?
A detail is how a flashing gets put together. Say, when you're at the peak of your ridge, the cap that goes on, that's an installation detail. It's something other than just laying panels down.
And we actually shot an installation series with Dave in Denver about detail installation, and we'll link that in the description for you. How about this? If I'm a building owner, how do I know the difference between a good install and a bad install? Dave?
Many times when I walk on site, I get a general idea of who that company is, who the installers are, just from the orchestration of the project, what's going on with the materials. There's a lot that goes into the preparation of a project. The material they use, whether it be the underlayment, the fasteners, like I say, how they orchestrate the panels. If the panels that are going to be installed on the roof are strewn out on the ground with no organization as to how they're going on the roof, what panels go where, you can kind of tell that some of the people on the project that are doing your install might not have the best idea of how to install the metal roof.
Because they're red flags. You see something that, you're like, well, should that really be like that? Then that can kind of lead your thought process. Well, maybe there's some other things that might not go as it should.
So they're like things that have nothing to do with like the actual installation?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times a lot of building owners or homeowners aren't going to know it's a bad install until it's done, or they have a problem with their roof.
Yeah.
If the owner isn't familiar with the roofing details that are going on, they won't recognize what's right and what's wrong. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of times, unless they get more involved with their installation, they're not going to understand what's happening, so they won't know that there's a problem until they have a failure.
So what's the kind of extent that a building owner could get involved on that installation?
Well, If you're dealing with a certain manufacturer, all credible manufacturers have their details posted on their website for the different panel systems. Mm-hmm. You can talk to your roofing contractor about the installation details they're going to use on your project, and compare them to the manufacturer's details online and see how close they are. You can talk to your contractor about why they might be using a certain detail that's different from the manufacturer's recommended detail and have them explain it to you. Main areas you want to look for is penetration points. Anywhere you have vent pipes or holes in your roof that they're going to flash around, those are definitely areas for concern.
If you do notice that there is a problem, how would you address that? During an installation, you see, oh, that probably shouldn't be like that. How would you address that as a building owner?
That's a tough one. I mean, but it's your money on the line. So if you're not confident in the installer or something that's going on, call the manufacturer, see what you can find out. Obviously, it's best to do the research beforehand. It's very important to be I think it's very important to be involved. A lot of building owners, they have either people present to make sure that things are done right. But if you're a homeowner, your home is your home, and you need to have some accountability for where your money's going. At least most people do their due diligence as far as the information that they're gathering about the people that are performing work on their house. So that's important, but that's not where it all ends. It ends when the project is done. For instance, just left a roof, I guess it was Thursday, of a homeowner here in Denver where the panels are sliding off the roof. We haven't had any heavy snows in Denver in a while. So it really made me worry when he called me and said his panels are sliding off the roof. And I went to the project, and it wasn't a horrible install. It just wasn't all put together. Like, all the boxes weren't checked. And we didn't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I didn't say that, oh, this whole entire roof is messed up. It might last a long time. I really think a metal roof should last 50 years. But with reasonable expectations, it should last a long time. So we came up with a scenario that was going to be suitable for the panels, not to slide off the roof, but the standing seam roof was not installed properly. Hence, he's going to have to spend additional money to get it back in a reasonable execution of the project, which made me feel bad that he spent all that money to just spend more money when it should have just been installed properly.
A lot of these problems, too, can be taken care of before the roof installation even starts by researching your contractors and picking the proper contractor that you've done the research on, that has the experience, you've seen his work, and that can handle your project, qualifications. That will save you a ton of time and energy during the process.
Yeah, and that's another question that we had was, what are some considerations when looking for a good contractor? How do you go about doing that? What's some practical steps that someone can take?
And what to look for?
Yeah.
Use your resources that are available. Contact your Better Business Bureau. Contact your state-affiliated roofing association. I believe, it's my understanding, all states have a roofing association, and you should be able to contact them, and they should be able to steer you in the right direction of a reputable contractor.
Yeah, well, you definitely want to make sure that they're insured. For me, number one, because if something happens on your project, you don't want to be liable for them. If they're not insured, that pretty much is red flag number one. There's not much else you have to do looking with that company. Other things, how long have they been in business? What references can they give? If you're specifically looking at a metal roof and a company does, say they advertise shingles, metal, and tile, well, how much metal do you actually do? Are you mainly shingles and you do some metal, or are you primarily metal and then you do shingles? You want somebody that is a metal roofing contractor, not does metal on the side or every once or twice a year.
Yeah. And the other thing to look for is with the company that you contract with, make sure that their metal installers aren't subcontracted. That's kind of a bad loophole to get into, because who are you going to hold accountable in the future if you have a problem? You know, the original roofing contractor that you have the contract with, you want to hold them responsible. But if they're not installing the roof directly, you're kind of in a bad situation.
And Dave, I think you made a good point earlier. When you guys are up on a roof doing an inspection, what are some things that you are looking for as far as how the installation was performed when you're accomplishing your inspections?
Well, we're going to make sure that it's put on per the engineering report that was specified. So clip spacing, proper fasteners, panels intolerance. And then we're going to make sure that the installation details that we have approved for the project are being actually installed correctly on the job site. So it literally is as simple as, does this look like the picture? Mm-hmm. And if it's not, it's wrong.
Yeah.
So all that's taken care of before the installation starts, and then during it we just check and make sure that it's being installed per what everybody agreed upon.
I really look for means and methods. You know, for instance, if they're installing a 30-foot panel and they have 5 guys trying to handle a 30-foot panel, I sort of question that. So I start looking deeper and deeper and deeper. It's kind of one of those scenarios where you see one thing, you're probably going to find more. And when, you know, when we're out for an inspection on a job that we're, you know, responsible for, that's our job, is to look for stuff. And not only that, but we're also trying to help the guys out on, you know, on site to get the job to the point where we can warrant it. We're not just there to, you know, inspect and, you know, just come up with everything negative. We also try to come up with solutions. So we're a solution-based company that's out to get the best product on the roof, installed, and warrantable.
Julianne, did you have something?
Yeah. So is it easy to tell when something is maybe done wrong or installed wrong? Or is it harder to tell? Do you think it's more like, can you visibly see it, or is it more like underneath, do you think? Most of the time.
Well, I think Dave and I have been doing it long enough that we spot it out pretty quick. And usually if something's wrong in one area, it's usually pretty consistent throughout the whole roof.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell when you have larger projects and you have separate crews working on different areas, which crews worked on which areas and which other crews worked on, you know, certain areas that the other guys didn't touch. But, you know, again, for us, I mean, we do it so often, you know, that's, like Dave said, that's what we get paid to do, so it comes pretty easily now. In the beginning, when I first started, it didn't come easily at all. I had to, you know, I had a checklist and I went over everything to make sure I didn't miss anything, and now you can almost scan a roof and just kind of tell what's out of place.
Yeah, but some roofs, like that one Dave was talking about, if the panels are sliding off the roof, that's pretty easy.
That's pretty evident.
Yeah, you can spot that one.
Yeah, and that's the tough part, is when we get those calls from the homeowner that has an issue. Hey, it's you know, it's kind of you know, retrospective to look at it and say, well, this is what's gone wrong, which I felt horrible, you know, given a 7-year-old man the news that his roof was improperly installed, and he paid really good money on a $1.7 million house, just to tell him, well, they installed the wrong panels. It's too low of a slope. Your panels are sliding, and it's a really low slope, and they shouldn't be sliding.
And I'll say one more thing to your point too. You know, nobody catches it all.
Yeah.
You know, there's going to be things that people miss, you know, but the majority, and especially the big things, we, you know, do everything we can to make sure that those are covered. And also, again, to your point, as far as, say, you know, the roof's finished and you're going out and maybe you didn't get to see how that section was put on, you know, there's things that we do as far as probing and using different tools to be able to check and see if things were installed correctly.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's like, you know, at a ridge we have 5 fasteners in our Z closure, and that compresses the butyl tape down to the panel underneath the Z closure. If they don't put enough fasteners in, the butyl tape isn't going to be compressed and it's not going to stick.
Okay.
So if we can slide a piece of metal or a ruler up under there, we know that there's not 5 fasteners per the spacing required for that installation detail. So there's things that we can check, you know, after the roof is installed, you know, that you wouldn't necessarily see unless you went and you did something, used a tool to check it.
So if you think that there's like a problem on your roof and that's just been installed, what is the first step you should do?
First step, I'd probably call my contractor and I'd call the manufacturer.
Okay.
You know, I'd call the contractor and ask how it was installed, and then if I had a manufacturer I was dealing with, I'd probably talk to the manufacturer and see what they recommend. You know, and then compare the two answers.
Yeah. Okay.
Dave?
I completely agree. A lot of times people are sort of reaching, but I think the internet has supplied us with enough communication devices and enough information that you should be able to get the information if there is a problem. There are some third-party consulting groups that can come out. That's going to come out of the pocketbook. So, you know, as far as expenses, you know, I don't think a consultant is probably the first way to go, but it is an option.
And is there a specific time where you'd say, okay, now we have to bring in a consultant, or is it more of just another option?
I think it's another option. I don't think it's the first option. It depends on what the problem is. I mean, if you've got water infiltration, that could be a major, major problem. Especially if you have one leak, you probably have more than one. You can generally find it, but resolve and remedy is sometimes harder. Obviously, it's harder after the fact than it is as you're executing the roof.
I'd say as far as, you know, a homeowner or a building owner, you know, don't be afraid to call the manufacturer before your metal roofs get put on. They know their system better than anybody else. They'll be able to help you with finding experienced contractors that they recommend. They'll be able to help you know what to look for and provide installation details that they recommend for their roof systems. A lot of times we get calls after the roof project is done. And after it's done, there's not much you can do about it after the fact, except either replace or repair items that have already been installed. I think your best bet is to do as much research as you can by the manufacturer before you install a system.
And I think the overarching message here is be proactive.
Correct.
As a building owner. Before you even choose a contractor, do your research, find good contractors who install metal roofs, ones that you can vet out. You've seen their process.
They have good reviews.
They have good reviews.
Yeah.
Check with your manufacturer. Check out blogs. Check out videos. Do your research before you buy, before you move on with that installation.
Agreed.
I concur.
Cool. Well, this has been a great conversation, and I appreciate everybody coming on this series. I'm going to wrap us up here. Subscribe to the Metal Roofing channel. Be sure you comment with any questions. Check us out online, Julianne's blog. Be sure to check that out. We'll just put that in the description. Thanks to Jeff and Dave for hopping on this episode, and we'll catch you next time.